You guys, I need you to sit all the way down for this one, because what I am about to tell you about David is going to flip your entire stomach. The man allegedly murked a 14-year-old little girl, drove her body around in the frunk of a $100,000 Tesla like she was a Whole Foods grocery run. And somehow, there is a real documented paper trail chance that he just accidentally became richer off the back of this whole disgusting blood-soaked mess. I said what I said. The career is dead. The label dropped him. YouTube cut the AdSense check off completely. Spotify is one petition signature away from yanking his entire catalog into the streaming void. And yet, when you actually slow down and read the fine print of what was happening behind the curtain at Interscope for the last 12 months, the most chilling, most stomach-turning twist in this entire saga is not the murking. It is not the dismembering. It is not the music videos with the blindfold standing over a bloody woman in a white dress. It is the fact that this little wannabe pseudo-intellectual edgelord might have walked out of the worst PR catastrophe in modern label history with something a lot of signed artists would literally sell a kidney for. And nobody, and I mean nobody on this app, is talking about it properly. So pour your tea, lock your door, mute the group chat, because we are going all the way in on this one, layer by layer, contract clause by contract clause. Now if you are new to my channel, hi, hello, welcome, hit subscribe before I forget to remind you halfway through. We have been on this David case since the very second a foul, ungodly smell started leaking out of an impounded Tesla in the Hollywood Hills. We are not late to this party. We have been at this party. We brought the snacks. We brought the receipts. We brought the highlighter. And today's deep dive is specifically about the money, the music revenue, the streaming numbers, the label maneuvering, the LLC paperwork, and the absolutely unhinged plot twist that nobody on the timeline is breaking down correctly. Because every other commentary channel on this app is doing the same lazy victory lap right now. Haha, he got demonetized, haha, his streams are down, haha, he's broke, ding dong, the murderer is broke. And yeah, on the very surface of it, sure, fine, ding dong. But underneath, baby, there is a financial chess move so dark, and so accidentally brilliant that I genuinely had to read the Rolling Stone article 3 full times before I could believe what I was reading. So today we are taking the long way around. We are starting at the very beginning. We are walking through the rise. We are walking through the streaming surge after the body dropped. We are walking through the label sprinting for the emergency exit. We are walking through the petitions, the lawsuits, the Son of Sam laws, the dismembered Riot Games soundtrack. And then I am going to land this plane on the one detail that should make every single one of you sick to your stomach all over again. Let's rewind. Way back in September of last year, when that little girl's body first got identified inside that Tesla, do you know what David's music actually did? It went up. I am not joking. I wish to God I was joking. Forbes literally wrote it down in black and white. Romantic Homicide, yes, the song is literally called Romantic Homicide, the universe writes itself sometimes, climbed all the way to number 8 on Spotify's US Daily Songs chart. That was the highest peak that song had hit in years. The song had been floating around in mid-tier obscurity since 2022, and the second a dead teenager was found in the frunk of his Tesla, the algorithm woke up like, oh, we are back? Cool. Let me push this to 1 million for you pages. His other tracks started boosting too. Feel It jumped to number 38. Here With Me to 39. He went from being a nobody at number 121 on the Spotify artist chart to landing at 42 in a matter of days. 7 full spots overnight on the day before they identified her on what would have been her birthday, September the 7th. YouTube, Romantic Homicide hit number 5 on the music videos chart that same weekend. Apple Music, 46 on the US chart. The man was demolishing the streaming economy the same week a 14-year-old girl was being identified through dental records and DNA matches. And I want you to sit with that for a second. Sit with the math of that. Because that is not a coincidence. That is the morbid curiosity tax, and our entire generation is paying it. Every single click was a vote. Every single stream was a tiny little bag of pennies dropped directly into the coffers of an alleged child-murdering psychopath. And he was sitting somewhere, probably on a tour bus, probably with a smug little half-smile, probably with his manager pulling up the streaming dashboard on a laptop, rubbing his hands together like birdmen counting checks. He thought he was winning. And of course the internet noticed. Reddit was in an absolute chokehold. The same post threads I was reading at 3 in the morning were full of people asking the only question that mattered. Why are we giving streams to a man whose own car was a coffin? People were saying, I have never even heard of this dude in my life. I literally thought his name said DVDA. Like the South Park joke from 20 years ago. People were saying, I clicked because I wanted to know who this freak even was, and now my one stream is somehow part of his royalty check. What do? Do I throw my phone away? People were doing the math. They were saying, okay, one stream is like 0.003 of a cent. How much help is that going to be to him when he's in a holding cell? But here is what those people did not understand at the time. And what I am about to explain to you in painful detail right now. One stream is not the number. Billions of streams is the number. Romantic Homicide alone, one song, just that one song, has crossed 1.7 billion plays on Spotify. To put that in perspective for the older heads watching, Britney Spears' Baby One More Time has 1.2 billion lifetime streams. Britney's song has had 26 years to do that. David did it in 3. Yes, streaming economics are different in Britney's era. I am not slow, I understand the math. I am just telling you the man was sitting on a generational catalog before the body inside that frunk was even cold. And every Reddit user who said morbid curiosity isn't really supporting him was technically right about themselves but completely wrong about the aggregate. Now here is where the story takes its first turn into the genuinely weird. Rolling Stone, and you know I love a good Rolling Stone investigation, those people go all the way, and Rolling Stone reported that Interscope Records quietly dropped David sometime late last year. Quietly. Quiet. Whisper drop. Not a press release. Not a thank you for the memories goodbye post. They just untied their corporate selves from him in the dead of night and walked away like a one-night stand. And not only that, they actively helped artists who had collaborated with David scrub their tracks off the streaming platforms. Kali Uchis pulled Crashing entirely from rotation. Netflix and Riot Games started scrubbing his Arcane song, Remember Me, off the official Arcane soundtrack on Spotify and Apple Music both. They pulled his official Game Awards performance video off Riot Games' own YouTube music channel like it never happened. They are doing everything but going back into the actual episodes of Arcane Season 2 and ripping the song out of Episode 6 frame by frame. And honestly, between you and me, I would not put it past Netflix to do exactly that. They have done it before. They quietly recut Stranger Things episodes after public release multiple times. Do not think for a single second they will not airbrush David out of Arcane like he never existed. The technology is there. The legal motivation is there. The PR motivation is there. Watch. And then YouTube of all platforms, pulled the lever that pretty much ends a career in 2026. They kicked David out of the YouTube Partner Program. Full, complete, total demonetization across his entire account. A spokesperson confirmed it to Rolling Stone in actual words. They suspended him under the Creator Responsibility Policy for off-platform behavior, harmful to the YouTube community. Now listen, as a YouTuber myself, I have to be careful talking about this one because I know how genuinely scary that policy is. YouTube is judge, jury, and executioner for every creator on this platform. They can decide at noon on a Tuesday that they do not like the cut of your jib, and they can switch your monetization off by sundown. Nobody is appealing to a higher court. There is no Supreme Court of YouTube. There is no constitutional protection. But in this specific case, in this case right here, bye, goodbye, sayonara, via con Dios, the man allegedly groomed and murked a child. He absolutely does not get to keep collecting passive AdSense pennies in the meantime, while he sits in his sister's spare bedroom waiting for the indictment to formalize. And the official YouTube reason, harmful to the community. They are not even pretending this is some vague compliance technicality. They are saying it directly. He could have been in the comment section recruiting more babies. He could have been DMing minors who watched his music videos and ending up in their inboxes. YouTube is not playing this round, and frankly, I respect it for the first time in a while. Then comes the petition. Change.org, baby, the People's Court. Industry Blackout, the music advocacy group, launched a formal petition demanding Spotify and Apple Music pull David's entire catalog completely off their platforms. And they did not write some weak little corporate non-statement either. They went straight for the throat. They said, and I am quoting this directly, "When an artist has been charged with the assault of a minor and the murder of a minor, a child who was drawn into his orbit through his music and public persona, continuing to stream, promote, and profit from his catalog is a choice. And it is not a neutral one. Period. Mic drop. Walk off stage. Cue the wind machine." The petition crossed 10,000 signatures so fast that Change.org started actively emailing it to subscribers as a featured campaign of the week. People I personally know, people who have never signed a petition in their entire adult lives, had this thing show up in their inbox at 7 in the morning. The pressure is real. The pressure is mounting. The pressure is starting to have receipts. And meanwhile, David is dropping like a brick out of Spotify's top 500 artists for the first time in 3 full years. He is hemorrhaging 350,000 monthly listeners every 24 hours. He lost over 14,000 Spotify followers in one single day this week. The decay is steep. The decay is permanent. The fans are gone. The little Atami cosplay kids on TikTok have all rebranded their accounts. The merch is sitting in a warehouse in Burbank getting mothballed. It is over. And of course, the comments section is having an entire field day with this. The dominant narrative everywhere right now is David is broke, David is cooked, David is finished. Family Burke about to be liquidating their retirement accounts to pay Marilyn Mosby's lawyer cousin. And yeah, on a surface level read, it absolutely tracks. Let me run the public napkin math for you the way every Reddit financial expert is running it right now. People are estimating he made $8 to $10 million total from streaming over the 4 years he was actually popping. Half of that came from a label advance that he legally owes back to Interscope. Then knock off 40% for federal and California state tax. That is non-negotiable. The government wants its cut before anybody else even gets a phone call. Then knock off another 30% for management, agents, lawyers, accountants, tour costs, studio time, the entire entourage, the cousin who said he was your DJ, the bodyguard, the publicist, the social media manager. You are left with maybe $2 to $4 million in actual personal liquid assets. Maybe. And that is before he hires a celebrity defense lawyer. Hiring the kind of lawyer who has represented DiCaprio and Weinstein, that alone is a $1 million retainer minimum. And that is before you bring in expert witnesses for digital forensics, financial forensics, medical forensics, body decomposition experts, geolocation timeline experts, the works. Some estimates from defense bar professionals are putting his total defense bill at $10 million before this case ever sees a verdict. He is going to need every penny. And then, and this is the part that makes me cackle a little, I will not pretend, and then you have the wrongful death civil suit looming over his head like a grand piano on a frayed rope. Celeste's family has every single legal basis in the world to bring both a wrongful death suit and a separate negligence claim. California Civil Code makes that entire lane wide open and well paved. And we are not talking about a little nuisance lawsuit either. We are talking the O.J. Simpson treatment. We are talking $33 million judgment energy. We are talking the kind of judgment that follows a man around for the rest of his sad, sorry, prison-bound life like a credit collector with a megaphone. Now you might be sitting there going, but Tisa, didn't he transfer the houses into his mama's name? Didn't he put everything into a trust? Isn't he protected from civil litigation now? Baby, no. Sit down. Under both Texas and California law, if you transfer assets post-event specifically to dodge a civil judgment, that is called a fraudulent transfer. Courts will see right through it. The judge is going to void those transactions like a bouncer voiding a fake ID at the door. The only way that trick works is if you set it up years in advance, before the event ever happens, and David didn't. David panicked. David thought he was being slick. David is not slick. David is a 21-year-old who watched a 6-minute YouTube video about LLC asset protection and thought he had outsmarted the entire California Civil Code. He has not. The Civil Code has been doing this for 200 years. It is not going to be foiled by a guy whose alter ego wears a blindfold. Now, here is where I need everybody in the comments to stop typing for 1 second and read what I am about to type next, because this is the angle nobody is touching. Because everybody in your favorite YouTuber's comment section is going to keep telling you David is broke, David is cooked, David is going to die in a cell with no money. And on a personal cash level, sure, eventually, yes, probably. But there is a detail buried inside that Rolling Stone piece that nobody on this app is grabbing onto. And I have been screaming about it on lives for 2 days straight. Let me read the exact sentence one more time so it actually sinks in for everybody. Quote, Rolling Stone understands UMG now has no ownerships or copyrights on Burke's music because his deal was structured as a licensing agreement. And now his music is on streaming platforms crediting David ENT End quote. Read it again. Read it twice. Read it until your eye twitches involuntarily. Because what that single sentence is actually saying in plain everyday English without the legal speak is that when Interscope quietly walked away from David late last year, they did not just dump him from the roster like a normal label split. They released their licensing claims on his master recordings entirely. The masters reverted back to him, to his LLC. The rights came all the way back home. Every song, every recording, the full catalog, back in his name. Or rather back in the name of David Entertainment LLC, which his mother is reportedly the registered manager of. Do you understand what that actually means in this industry? Let me put this in plain language for everybody in the back. There are artists in this industry, legends, giants, people you have posters of on your bedroom wall, who have been fighting in court for literal decades trying to claw back ownership of their masters from their old labels. Taylor Swift went absolutely scorched earth and re-recorded her entire discography note for note from scratch just to get out from under hers. Prince literally changed his stage name to an unpronounceable symbol and wrote the word slave on his actual face in protest of his Warner Brothers contract. JoJo had her entire career frozen for almost a full decade fighting hers in court. Kesha, Kanye, Mariah. The list of artists who have publicly bled, sobbed, and shattered for their masters is a mile long and growing every year. And then here comes David, a 21-year-old wannabe Atami cosplay edgelord pseudo-intellectual who barely listened to music before puberty, who walked into the music industry, signed a deal, became a billion-stream artist, did the worst thing a human being can allegedly do to another human being, and on the way out of that label accidentally got his masters back. Because the label wanted distance from his stench so badly, so urgently, so before the New York Times calls them quickly, that they basically said, "Take your music, take your rights, take it all, just please get our logo off the back of it before the morning news cycle." That is not a punishment. That is, in some twisted upside-down back-alley demonic way, a win. A horrifying, stomach-churning, sweat-the-bed-at-night kind of win that artists with actual integrity would weep over. Now let me tell you exactly why this matters and why it should make every single one of you absolutely furious in a brand new direction. Because masters are forever. Royalties are forever. Streaming revenue does not stop when you go to prison. Streaming revenue does not stop when you get convicted. Streaming revenue does not stop when you get sentenced. Streaming revenue keeps trickling, and sometimes outright flooding, into the bank account of whoever owns those rights, for as long as the music continues to exist on a platform somewhere on the planet. And right now, in this exact moment, the rights to Romantic Homicide and every other single David track sit inside David ENT LLC. His LLC. Not Interscopes. Not Universal Music Group's. His. Or technically, his mother's, since she allegedly runs the LLC paperwork. So even if Spotify and Apple Music eventually cave to the petition pressure and pull his catalog from the main platforms, that music is going to live on third-party platforms forever. It is going to live on bootleg uploads. It is going to live on TikTok. It is going to live on every dusty corner of the internet where teenagers find edgy aesthetics to soundtrack their depression videos for the next 20 years. And every single time a publishing deal gets cut to license one of those tracks for a Netflix true crime documentary in 5 years about his trial, and trust me on this, that documentary is going to get made probably by Joe Berlinger or somebody on the Tiger King circuit. Guess whose LLC gets the licensing check? David's LLC. Or rather, whatever shell entity his mother controls now, while he sits inside a cell at Men's Central Jail. That is the loophole. That is the reverse loophole. That is the part nobody on this whole entire app is talking about. Now before y'all riot in the comments, and I can already see you typing, calm down for a second. Yes, there are Son of Sam laws on the books in most states. Yes, those laws were specifically designed to stop convicted criminals from profiting off the publicity of their specific crimes. The original Son of Sam law was passed in New York in the 1970s after the actual Son of Sam serial killer started getting six-figure book deal offers from prison. The Supreme Court then struck down New York's first version of that law in 1991 on First Amendment grounds, and a lot of states have since rewritten their statutes to survive constitutional review. So depending on the state and the specifics of the crime, courts can absolutely freeze or redirect money earned from any work that capitalizes on the specific crime. That is exactly how O.J. Simpson's If I Did It book royalties got redirected to the Goldman family after his civil judgment. So in theory, yes, if David tries to release some prison memoir called Why I Did It Tommy, or some equally disgusting cash grab, the Son of Sam laws can absolutely come for that money. But, and this is the giant industrial size, but Romantic Homicide came out in 2022. 3 full years before the body was even found. The song predates the crime. Defense lawyers are going to argue all day long that a song released in 2022 cannot retroactively be classified as profiting off a 2024 crime, even if the lyrics literally say, "In the back of my mind I killed you, and I didn't even regret it." Song lyrics are not legal confessions in California, until a judge specifically rules otherwise, and good luck getting that ruling without a lengthy appeals process. That catalog keeps streaming. That catalog keeps earning. That LLC keeps eating. The check keeps clearing. And let's talk about the asset shell game for one full second, because this is the other thing nobody on this app is connecting. David allegedly transferred his properties into his mother's name. Allegedly. He moved everything he could into a trust. Allegedly. Now most people watching this are looking at that move and thinking, oh, dumb move, the courts will see right through that. And yes, on the wrongful death civil suit side, absolutely they will. The fraudulent transfer doctrine in California is going to rip those property moves apart in deposition. But here is the part that is significantly slipperier than people think. The music rights are not a house. The music rights are intangible intellectual property held inside an LLC structure. LLCs are notoriously, ridiculously, frustratingly hard to pierce in civil court. Especially if his mother is listed as the registered manager. Especially if there are layers. An LLC owned by a holding trust owned by another LLC registered in Delaware or Wyoming, or some other notorious corporate veil state. That kind of corporate veil takes years of extremely expensive forensic accounting to actually crack, and Celeste's family, who, mind you, had to set up a public GoFundMe to even bring their daughter's body home for a proper funeral, does not have unlimited budget to pay a forensic accounting team to crack a multi-layered LLC structure that might be partially registered offshore. So even when they win the civil judgment, and they should win easily on the merits, actually collecting on that judgment from a music IP empire hidden inside 3 layers of LLCs is a whole separate marathon. And David is counting on that marathon being too expensive for a working-class family from Lake Elsinore to run. Let's talk about the tour money for a minute. People keep saying he was about to do a world tour right when this all blew up. Yes, he was. The tour got fully canceled. Pre-sale tickets refunded. Sponsorships pulled. Brand deals dissolved. Endorsements that were upcoming, all gone, evaporated. So on the live performance revenue side, absolutely the man took a haymaker straight to the wallet, no argument there. But here is what most people don't actually know about how major tours like that get financed and structured behind the scenes. Major tours are pre-financed up front. They borrow heavily against expected ticket revenue. They carry insurance policies that cover catastrophic cancellation scenarios. Tour insurance is a very real industry. For an artist at his level pre-arrest, that policy would have covered things like death or incapacitation of the headliner, plus a million other very specific scenarios. Now, is there a tour insurance policy on the planet that pays out when your headliner is arrested for the alleged murder of a 14-year-old? Probably not in the small print of any standard policy, because that falls under what insurance lawyers call a moral hazard exclusion. You cannot insure against your own criminal conduct. So that specific money is gone. Somebody else is eating the loss. The label, the promoter, the tour bond company, somebody in that chain is absorbing the hit. And the somebody eating that loss is likely not David personally, because tour deals at his streaming level typically shield the artist from a lot of the direct personal financial exposure. The promoters and the label took the brunt. He walked. Again. And speaking of the surreal nightmare we are all collectively living in, after his official arrest in April, the streams spiked again. Over 1 million brand new monthly listeners showed up on Spotify in a single week. 1 full million. After he was officially charged with the murking of a 14-year-old child, people could not help themselves. The morbid curiosity tax came back like a credit card statement after the holidays. Now this time the spike is decaying faster than September's spike did. Thankfully, because the boycott discourse has matured. People are getting smarter about it as a culture. The don't stream a child killer public messaging is finally penetrating the algorithm. But the damage is already done in terms of new ears. 1 million extra listeners equals a fresh inflation of his algorithmic visibility on Spotify, which then means more recommended track placements on Discover Weekly and Release Radar, which then means more passive plays, which then means more royalty drip into David ENT LLC. Even his crash is profitable. Even his apocalypse is monetized. Even his obituary is generating revenue. Tell me that is not the most cyberpunk dystopian sentence you have ever heard about an actual murder case. Even his apocalypse is monetized. Write that on a t-shirt. Sell it. Donate proceeds to Celeste's family. I am only half joking. Let me address the comments I can already see coming a mile away. But Tisa, the man was actually genuinely talented. Stop. Sit down. Let me pull this thread one time because I see y'all in my mentions every day on this one. People love to argue that David had real artistic talent. Okay, fine, let's argue that. Number 1. His vocals on the studio recordings are heavily processed. Pull up any of his actual phone camera live performances from a fan in the crowd. Not the live-style recordings the label labeled as live but obviously polished afterwards in post. Pull up a raw, shaky, fan-uploaded venue live and tell me to my face that his voice is anything special. It is mid. It is squarely, comfortably mid-tier vocal performance. His beats are simple, melodically plain. 3-chord loop with industrial strength reverb dumped on it like ranch dressing on a salad nobody asked for. The man was a TikTok algorithm winner, not a Stevie Wonder. He made music that was specifically marketable to depressed 13-year-olds scrolling the For You page at 1 in the morning, and he did that competently. That is a real skill. I will not deny him that skill. But that is not the same thing as actual generational musical genius, and the music industry's bad habit of confusing marketable to teenagers with generationally talented is one of the structural reasons we ended up here in the first place. They overhyped him because he was easy money. They greenlit a tour. They put him on the Game Awards stage in front of millions. They handed him an Arcane soundtrack placement. And not a single executive in his orbit thought to ask the very simple question of why a 21-year-old had a 14-year-old at his apartment in Lake Elsinore with a matching tattoo on her finger. And that is the part of this story that does not get enough airtime, in my unsolicited opinion. The industry complicity. Everybody around David knew. His manager Robert Morgroth, who is currently testifying in front of a grand jury, the same grand jury that brought us to this arrest, knew. His friend Neil Langston, the streamer who suddenly went silent and then suddenly started tweeting things like, "I'm not going down for this, I didn't do anything," before going silent again. Knew. The roadies, the assistants, the fake ID finder guy, the security teams at the venues, the hotel front desk staff he was checking into with her, the Uber drivers, the studio engineers, the merch table workers, somebody knew. Multiple somebodies knew. And the entire ecosystem looked the other way because David was making money and pulling crowds. That manager allegedly said the quiet part out loud at one point. "I just didn't want the tour to stop." Sir, a 14-year-old child is dead. The tour is the least of our concerns right now. But that is the music industry in microcosm. That is the actual calculus. The tour stops when the body smells, not when the predator is identified. And every single one of those enablers, every roadie, every manager, every label executive who saw a teenage girl on the tour bus and decided not to call somebody, every single one of them is sleeping in clean sheets tonight while Celeste's family is still scraping together GoFundMe money for legal fees. And I will scream that into the void until my actual throat gives out. So let me bring this whole thing back to where I started, because I see some of you in the comments going, "Tisa, get to the point. What is the actual takeaway from all this?" The takeaway is this. The takeaway is that there are two David stories happening at the same time right now, in parallel, and the internet is only paying attention to one of them. Story A, the loud story, the meme story, the dopamine story, is David is broke, David is cancelled, David is cooked, dance on his grave, ding dong. Cool. Fine. Enjoy the dopamine hit. Story B, the quiet story, the LLC paperwork story, the one I just walked you through brick by brick, is David might have accidentally engineered the cleanest master's back deal in modern label history, and the IP keeps generating royalties for the LLC his mother manages while he sits in a cell at Men's Central. Story B is the one that should actually keep you up at night. Story B is the one that means we, as listeners, as consumers, as a culture, have to do the actual work of refusing to stream. Not because one stream is going to make him rich, but because 2 billion streams already did. And every additional play is a tiny renewal contract on his ability to laugh at all of us from inside that holding cell. Story B is the part that should have you canceling Spotify Premium today, not next month. And before y'all hit me with the separate the art from the artist speech in the comments, let me cut that exact argument off at the knees right now. We have had this conversation repeatedly, exhaustively as a culture, with R. Kelly, with XXXTentacion, with Michael Jackson, with Chris Brown, with Marilyn Manson, with every problematic artist on rotation, and every single time it ends the same way. The people who want to keep listening go, "Well, the music is good, I am not endorsing him personally, I am just enjoying the song privately," and the people who don't go, "How can you possibly separate the song Romantic Homicide from the fact that the lyrics literally describe a romantic homicide that allegedly came true in real life?" You cannot. You simply cannot. You cannot separate the music video from the body in the trunk when the music video is literally a blindfolded man standing over a bloody body of a girl in a white dress on a white bed. The art and the artist are wearing matching outfits, baby. They are holding hands. They walked into court together. There is no separation. There is no daylight between them. The Itami alter ego, Itami, the Japanese word for pain, blindfolded specifically so that he is not held accountable for the pain he causes. That was never just an art project. That was a confession. He wrote it down in his own lyrics. He filmed it. He performed it live at the Game Awards in front of a global audience. While Celeste's body was already on a clock somewhere, we still do not fully understand the timeline of. And we, collectively as an audience, clapped for it. We clapped. The Game Awards crowd applauded. That is on all of us. So what now? What do we actually do with this information now that you have it? Number 1, sign the petition. IndustryBlackoutschange.org petition is the single most effective legal pressure point on the streaming platforms right now. 10,000 signatures already, growing daily. Get it to 100,000. Get it to 500,000. Make Spotify's Risk and Compliance Committee actually flinch when they walk into their Tuesday morning meeting. Number 2, stop streaming, period. I know morbid curiosity is real. I know the algorithm autoplays his songs after Olivia Rodrigo and Phoebe Bridgers. Open Spotify, type his name into the search bar, hit don't recommend this artist, and never look back at that recommendation again. Wipe him from your library. Wipe him from your playlists. Wipe him from your existence as a listener. Number 3, pay close attention to the trust and LLC structure as this case develops. When the wrongful death suit gets formally filed, and it will get filed, watch this space, pay attention to which attorney files it. Pay attention to whether they bring in a real forensic accounting team. Pay attention to whether they actually go after the music IP and not just the houses. Because the houses are bait. The houses are the shiny thing he wants them to chase publicly. The music IP is the real prize. And if Celeste's family's lawyers do not chase it all the way through the LLC paperwork, David accidentally wins this round even from inside a prison cell. And number 4. And this is the one that matters most, this is the one I want stitched into every single comment section on every video about this case. Say her name. Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Say her name out loud. She was 14 years old when her mother last saw her at the apartment in Lake Elsinore. She was 13 years old when she first went missing. Her mom, called TMZ because the cops were not connecting the dots. TMZ. Imagine being a Latina mother in California, and the only entity in the entire universe willing to listen to you about your missing baby is a tabloid celebrity gossip site. That is the actual system we live in. Without that one mother making that one phone call to TMZ, David would still be on tour right now. He would still be on the Spotify Top 10. He would still be at the next Game Awards doing another song from another Netflix soundtrack with another blindfold on his face. The only reason we are even sitting here together having this conversation today is because one Latina mother in California refused to be told her daughter was just another runaway. We owe her the loudness. We owe her the petition signatures. We owe her the streaming boycotts. We owe her every single uncomfortable conversation in every group chat that is tired of hearing about this case. Because Celeste herself cannot speak anymore. And the rest of us have to be louder than the algorithm. Period. Full stop. So look, I came on this video to break down David's music career and his finances, and I think I delivered that for you. But I also wanted you to walk away today with the one specific detail nobody else on this whole platform is telling you, which is that the worst part of this entire story is not him going broke. The worst part is the very real possibility that he did not actually go broke at all, and that the system quietly rewarded him with master recordings on the way down as the door hit him on the way out. The system did not punish him. The system handed him a backdoor exit deal because Interscope wanted to wash its own hands of him before the press cycle could catch them. Interscope is sleeping fine tonight. Universal is sleeping fine. YouTube is sleeping fine. Spotify is dragging its corporate feet hoping the news cycle moves on. And David's mother is somewhere right now managing an LLC that owns one of the biggest streaming catalogs of the last 5 years. That is the real headline. That is the part one needed every single one of you to hear today. If this video opened your eyes even 1%, please hit like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, drop a comment that just says justice for Celeste, and share this video with the one friend in your life who keeps hitting play on Romantic Homicide and saying, I know, but it's a good song. Tell them exactly what they are paying for every time they hit play. I will be live tonight to break down the new dismembering details TMZ posted earlier today, and tomorrow we are doing a full deep dive on Robert the manager and Neil the streamer friend, who I personally believe both knew way more than they have admitted to. Until then, stay safe, stay loud, stay petty, and stay informed. Love y'all. Bye. And listen, I am not making any of this up. I am literally reading the same Rolling Stone investigation y'all can pull up on your own phone in the next 2 minutes. That is a mathematical fact, and the math does not care about your feelings. I said what I said and I am not taking it back, sue me. Let that one specific sentence marinate for a second before you scroll past it. And before somebody in the comments asks me, yes, I double-checked the source, yes, I triple-checked the source, yes, I am dead sure about it. Mind you, this is exactly the part the mainstream coverage keeps brushing right past like it's a hotel room they do not want to check into. And that, baby, is precisely the part that is keeping me up at 3 in the morning lately. Tell me again, with a straight face, how the system works for the victims in this country. Oh wait, that is the kind of detail that should have you setting your phone down on the table and walking outside for a second to get some air. And I do mean literally, not figuratively, literally. Receipts. 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 The math is matting and the math is ugly all the way down to the decimal. You genuinely cannot make this stuff up if you sat down and tried to write a screenplay this dark. I will say it again for the people in the back who keep missing the point.